So, it's raining all week here in St. Louis, and that's got me thinking about one of those truly important topics in marketing that impact us all. Umbrellas? Nope. Sealed basements? No way. Gutters? I'm trying to keep my mind out of there, thanks. This is a family show. No, I'm talking about what always comes to mind when it's raining hard: cats and dogs. As in, the idiomatic expression of an uncertain origin that may have originated in the 1600s in England during torrential storms that literally carried cats and dogs down the street, or as a misunderstanding of the French word for waterfall, or maybe as an old Norse Viking belief that cats somehow caused storms and dogs kicked up the winds in the service of Odin. But you know what? Let's put all that aside for a moment and talk a little bit about the wild world of pet marketing. And I have some friends who work at Purina, and I need to have one of them on the show one day to talk about the ins and outs of selling pet food because they are the experts on this topic. But we can at least dip our toes in the water today by talking about the big picture. What's driving the $158 billion market for pet products, and maybe even where it's going next? Today we'll cover dogs, tomorrow cats, and later on this week, reptiles, aquatic pets, and more. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and this is the Marketing Gateway. Do you have a dog in your house? Congratulations! According to data from the American Pet Products Association, or the APA, 71 million American households also have one. And given that there are around 135 million households in America right now, that's just over half, or around 53%. Other data from the American Veterinary Medical Association, or AVMA, say it's just 43%, or around 56.3 million. But they estimate there are around 87.3 million dogs in the United States, which means the average for most families is around 1.6 canines per dog-owning household. You might think it's older empty nesters who own dogs, because that's often who you see taking their dogs to the hardware store or the farmers markets, but the APA data suggests that 2/3 of pet owners come from the Generation X and Millennial cohorts, which suggests, as I think most people already assumed, that pets are most likely to show up in homes where children are living or were recently living. Gen Z is the target market for new pet owners, and boomers are the group who are leaving pets behind as they get older. Pet spending started accelerating during the pandemic years and has gone up nearly 75% since 2018 in non-adjusted dollars, or about 31% if you account for inflation. Pet ownership itself has also increased during that time. According to an AVMA report from 2018, only 38% of households owned a dog, which was then the highest number that they'd recorded. We all know that pet ownership, particularly dog ownership, increased during COVID because it was widely reported, and the trend data suggests that this growth has continued. Though there's some speculation that the potential recession on the horizon might make things level off. Even so, pets need a few things to be happy and healthy, and the most expensive of those is food. The market for food and treats in America is, according to APA, around $68 billion with a projected $70 billion this year. One growth area has been refrigerated wet food sold in chain stores, which is more expensive, but which pet owners perceive to be better for their pets. This market is currently worth about $1.6 billion for dogs, but according to data from the industry trade resource Pet Food Processing, it was the only category of food that saw recent growth. Every other category went down. The same data said that store-based purchases make up about $60 billion in purchases overall, but pet owners are also having about $37 billion worth of pet food shipped to them. E-commerce DB says a lot of that food is coming from Chewy, which is by far the biggest seller of pet food at $13 billion in net sales, followed by Walmart.com at $2 billion and Petco.com at $1 billion, and then Amazon and PetSmart.com at around $800 million each. I'm not sure where the rest is coming from, since those numbers only represent half of the estimated e-commerce sales, but the pet food processing data do tell us that millennials are the most likely to order their dog food online. Another thing you have to think about with pets, particularly dogs, is having leashes, toys, crates, and remedies on hand. Supplies, over-the-counter medicine, and other pet-related spending are generating around $34 billion, but they're projected to rise to $35.6 billion this year. Vet care and veterinary products, estimated around $41 billion, may grow to around $42.5 billion this year. And AVMA says this is around $600 a year in veterinary care spending per household per year alone. That's part of the total cost of owning a dog, which, by the way, a Ford's Advisor report estimates is actually close to $1,500 a year annually. That is far more expensive than a kid, by the way, by which I mean a baby goat, which can cost you just $500 to $1,200 per year to raise and feed. Plus, hey, you get a free composter and lawnmower in the process. So think about it. Other services, which include grooming, pet sitting, dog walking, and insurance, are estimated at $14 billion, but projected to grow to almost $15 billion this year. And research from the North American Pet Health Insurance Association, or NAFIA, says that the number of insured pets has jumped from 6.25 million in 2023 to 7.93 million in 2025, with dog owners being far more likely than cat owners to consider insurance because, well, dogs are more likely to need it. Okay, so we can see now that not only is there a major market for selling things to pet owners, but that somewhere between 42 to 53% of households are going to need a lot of the things that we just covered. But before you rush out to start a wet or frozen dog food business or set up your own pet insurance plan, let's remember that even as things are growing, this is a fairly mature market where some of the increase in spending is due to rising costs. So let's instead look at some of the ways in which dog owners may need to be served, which are still fairly underserved by a lot of industry. One of those is weight loss. So dog food makers are notoriously opaque about what ingredients go into dog food, and it's very difficult for the average dog owner to know what's appropriate to feed their pets for a healthy diet. This is why veterinarians offer special, very expensive pet food. They control the quality and can ensure that they're giving the dogs the nutrients that they might not get from cheaper grocery store or big box store brands. Treats and table scraps are also unhealthy for dogs most of the time, and many of the traditional things people like to give dogs to keep them busy, like rawhide or bones or chew toys, can also be dangerous for a pet since they're choking hazards or they can create stomach blockages, and those are very expensive to deal with. But milk bones and vegan strips and other treats are also more calorically dense and aren't healthy for dogs in large quantities. Pet owners often have a poor understanding of what quantities are healthy because they're not receiving any education on the topic. Overweight dogs, like overweight humans, have many health risks and require both a reduction in calories and an increase in exercise and activity to combat obesity. But pet owners often feel guilty about shrinking portions or giving dogs food that they don't enjoy as much, and a lot of the weight loss branded foods also come in smaller quantities, making them more expensive. So there's an opportunity for dog adjacent businesses to coach consumers on proper care and feeding of their pups by offering opportunities for dogs and their humans to play together and to learn about proper exercise and nutrition in general terms. Providing education about how human owners and their dogs can live more fit, active lifestyles might also help the 40% of Americans who are classified as obese to develop a stronger connection with their pet. This could also be a program offered through community dog parks, off-the-leash facilities, or dog-friendly spaces. And dog yoga classes or other exercise programs, and yes, dog yoga is a thing, could complement this approach. Another opportunity for homeowners is to reduce the smells associated with having dogs. Now, I don't need to tell you if you're a dog owner. There is no shortage of products claiming to treat household pet smells, but if you don't own pets and you walk into a dog owner's home, you're going to notice that odor right away. It is unmistakable. So a Mintel study from 2018 says that in the US, pet odor motivates 36% of people to buy air care products, which is a term for candles, air purifiers, air fresheners, sprays, and other products used to make the air smell better when guests are over. Unfortunately, these are not regulated well and can be quite dangerous for dogs. They're also often questionably effective if they're not treating some of the allergens associated with dogs, such as dander and hair. Many consumers are also sensitive to strong smells and chemical odors, which means that these products may actually make their homes less inviting, like a strong perfume smell covering a bad body odor. There is definitely opportunity for marketers to find ways to promote better air care for pet owners. and I expect we'll see interest in this rise along with pet adoption numbers. A third opportunity is admittedly a little silly, but I found some research to support it. Yet another Mintel study from the UK in 2018 highlights the potential for animal friendly beverages that can be served to dogs if you want to share a beer with your pet. These drinks are specifically made for canine tastes and do contain digestive aids and calming ingredients, and crucially, don't contain alcohol, though a cat branded alternative does include catnip. While this sounds absolutely ridiculous, these are real products that are actually being marketed under names like Snuffle, Bottom Sniffer, and Wolfenbrew's Prosecco. They're not widely available and they reek of stunt marketing, but you know what? They are a real thing. People also love to buy products related to their pets, but unless you have a breed standard dog, it's often hard to find one that looks exactly like your pet. This is where modern technologies like generative AI and both 2D and 3D printing could really offer something new and interesting. Custom made, print on demand pet merchandise based on photos of your pet, and which can be made into all sorts of different products, from displayable figurines to custom dog bowls to calendars featuring your dog doing your favorite activities. Two more ideas for opportunities in pet marketing are less about selling things and more about offering people the chance to interact with their pets in public spaces. Now, some retail chains have experimented with letting people bring their dogs inside because they don't want people to leave them in the car. And you know what? I've seen pets encouraged at stores like Rural King and Lowe's and Home Depot locally. And of course, most pet stores allow them as well. But this can be a health code violation in retail stores that serve food, and a nightmare if someone brings in a dog who's not properly socialized or trained. But this is a way to entice pet owners to feel welcome and more relaxed in a store, since pets are a natural opener for conversations. Another tactic you often see in pedestrian areas that allow it is outdoor restaurant dining where dogs are permitted to sit under tables or beside chairs. Again, this can be a health code risk depending on local laws and also requires that the dogs be sufficiently well trained for the experience. Nobody wants to get barked at or bitten while they're trying to grab a bite of their own, but it can entice customers who otherwise would not come to a restaurant to sit and stay a while, and also helps restaurants that aren't chains to stand out. I personally feel these options are kind of wimpy, the way that they tend to be utilized, and they're often offered as a perk rather than a distinctive quality of the shopping experience. But you know, pet stores do play it up a little bit better than the other locations. Having taken my dogs to public places back when I still had them, though, I could still see just as many people were amazed as annoyed by the experience of seeing me there with my pets. So, to combat this, here's a high concept: a destination hotel that's not just dog friendly, but legitimately built for humans and their pets to be together, complete with play areas and relief areas for the dogs, places for the humans to sit and shop while their dogs enjoy some off-the-leash play under the supervision of staff, and perhaps some other family amenities as well for the kids and families to enjoy while their dogs are having a good time. This concept would solve one of the biggest problems that many dog owners have: trying to figure out what to do with their dogs when they're traveling, or either having to board their dogs in confined crates, or hire a pet sitter, or take them to an expensive off-the-leash facility so that they'll have a place to be. A destination designed for families to bring their dogs, and which also has trained staff on site who know how to deal with them, would be a great way to capitalize on the millennial, Gen X, and Gen Z families who are increasingly inviting dogs into their homes. And it would also allow the hotel to charge a premium for the service, since it would still save those families money on having to find other solutions for pet care. Plus, happy, active, well-socialized dogs bark less and sleep longer, which would be a very nice way to get them to rest when the humans are off doing human things. Well, like I mentioned, tomorrow we're going to talk about cats, which are what I have taken in since the last of my own dogs passed away. Very sad about that, but the cats are great. And yes, there are so many opportunities for cats as well. Can't wait to talk about them. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and this has been the Marketing Gateway. See you next time.
So here's a reminder: May is Mental Health Awareness Month. According to Mental Health America, nearly 1 in 5 American adults will have a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year, and 46% of Americans will meet the criteria for a diagnosable mental health condition at some point in their life. Half of those people will develop conditions by the age of 14. Mental health is something we all should take seriously. Please do not be afraid to seek help. You're not alone in your struggles, and if you know someone who's struggling with mental health conditions, please help in any way that you can. Sometimes all it takes is a simple text checking in on them, and it could end up saving their life. If you find yourself needing immediate help, please text or call the Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988. And if you would like to learn more or you need assistance in finding help, you can visit Mental Health America's website at mhanational.org. There's also an option on the page to donate if you feel so inclined, and I hope that you will.